Let me start from the beginning. In 2015, we had an earthquake. Rashmita and I had an awakening. We traveled and volunteered in rescue missions all across Nepal. When the tremors were over, we started our own organization. We called it One Youth. First, schools were easy as we had all the energy in the world with us. We organized leadership workshops, team building programs, hiking programs, and more leadership workshops. And when that was not enough, we organized an art exhibition in the city. It left us with enough money to build a computer lab and a library in a village school of Kavri. When we realized we had more than enough resources, we built lab and library in 3 schools instead. We came back and celebrated. Then we did the same thing again. That took us to 5 more schools. By the end of 2016, we traveled to Thorongla, world's highest mountain pass. We made a plan to start an IT company back home. We named it One Tech. With the earning we had from the company and few more fundraisings, we traveled to East Nepal to help 4 more schools in education. This time, we filmed the whole process with a rented camera. International Youth Media Summit saw what we did and invited us to Sweden to attend the Media Summit in 2017. There, we learned more about filmmaking. Upon our return home, we planned to buy a camera but used the money to help flood victims instead. After a few more fundraisings and few more schools, we traveled by foot from Khotang to Everest Base Camp, helping 500 children with educational resources. We filmed everything and named the film An Extraordinary Journey. That film got us into IOMS Summit once again in Australia. We premiered the film and came back home and did some more premiere shows. We got ourselves a new camera. By this time, we had helped 19 schools and 3,000 children with educational resources. We then planned something big. Travel to Far West Nepal and help 13 schools with computer lab and library and film everything for a new documentary. We met friends during our travel to Sweden and Australia who helped us with the donations. We started Eastern Green, a tea room in Kathmandu to make more money, but it failed. We lost some money there. We started a youth news portal, but that failed too. Lost some more money there. But we had money coming in from our IT company and our friends who were there to help. That took us to 13 schools and Mount Api in the Himalayas. We rode, we hiked, we ate, we built, we danced, we gave, and we repeated. By the end of 2019, we were invited to Zambia by one of our friends in IOMS. We helped build computer lab and library in a rural school there as well. We got a chance to see big waterfalls. By the end of the project, we were penniless. All we had was 6,000 footages we captured, which a film company in Sweden, Farkfilm, loved. Jimmy from Farkfilm invited us to edit the film there. We got through 50% of the editing process, saw the northern lights and came back home. With what money we had left and a little bit of support from our friends, we bought few more computers, books and stationery to help another school in Far West Nepal. But after 32 schools helped and miles travel, suddenly everything came to a halt as the government imposed a month of COVID lockdown in Nepal. It was fine in the beginning. It had been so long that we hadn't stayed idle. We made new recipes, watched films, talked and passed time. As our government imposed yet another month of lockdown, we started getting bored. All those years of constantly being on the run had taken a toll on us. New recipes didn't excite us and films weren't that interesting anymore. Our IT company brought no clients and living in the city, we had no views to admire. After 2 months, the lockdown was over. So we came to our office and decided to travel again to help one more school. But just as we were ready to leave, we were back in our homes again as the COVID cases rose. We were becoming impatient to leave the city and go to the mountains. When the final month of lockdown was over, cases in the city rose to 1600 per day, but the government decided to open up public transportation. Then we received a call from our village school. They had no cases in the village and would heartily welcome us to the school. There were rumors that the city could go into yet another lockdown any day. If we leave and the city goes into lockdown, we won't be able to return. If we don't leave and there happens to be no lockdown, then we would regret not leaving. We had no hopes of leaving the city as we were in a dilemma. We did our PCR tests on 6th October. Our report came back negative at midnight. The next day, we let go of everything. Without prior plans, we took a bus and left the city. All the chaos and conflicts were slowing down. The journey was long and we knew it from our previous project to the same village, but it didn't quite bother us like it used to on our journeys prior to the COVID. Every milestones we passed by, we were patient and a certain calmness was building within us. After 30 hours of travel in a bus, we reached a small city in Darchula, where we transported all the books and computers from the bus to a jeep, which would take us through the off-roads. We sanitized the jeep and traveled till the road ended. The next day, we hired some donkeys to carry the books. Computers and stationery being very sensitive, we left it for the villagers to come and get. We then started our hike to the school, gaining altitude gradually through a narrow path, passing by donkeys and lush green forests. We had been through the same path before, but this time it felt different. Climbing didn't felt as strenuous as it used to. The hills were more vibrant, and the waterfalls seemed to have a soul. We woke up in Gussa the next day with only 4 hours left to reach the school. But we were in no hurry. We relaxed our tired bones in the warmth of the mountain sun as we watched the day unfold in front of our eyes. We let ourselves be idle for almost midday, and in that idleness we found a longing peace. 3 days ago, we were hearing news about deaths, infection, decreasing economy, and more. But then we were carefree. No sounds of vehicles, no internet, no news, no risk of COVID, only a destination ahead. And so we started our hike towards the school again.
Money.
As we pushed forward, we could see villagers going on about their own business, as if the events of the world has not happened. The remoteness of the place and lack of infrastructure has created its own lockdown for years in this beautiful village. It was the busiest time for the villagers as they must collect straw to mend their homes for winter. We would realize this later as our computers and stationery were still where we left them due to lack of villagers' time to go and get them.
Ina. Rashmita, good morning.
Following day, we woke up in a tea house nearby and headed towards the school. Children attended early morning classes only as a nationwide COVID precautionary measure, even though the village had no infections. Since our computers were still on their way, we started with the library books brought by the donkeys and the stationery we ourselves carried to the village. There were no children to be seen during the day, but they were definitely in for a big surprise when the school opens the next day. We set up a library and spent our whole day managing the resources we brought. Some books and copies were still coming one sack at a time. We were eager to meet the children and make our project a success. However, we were notified that our computers will be there only in a 3 days time. So we decided to wrap up our work for the time being. From the school, it was just a 2-day journey reaching Mount Api in the Himalayas. And even though we were there before the lockdown, without any second thought, we decided to push forwards to the sacred mountain. Next day we started early, passing through the last villages before the mountains started. People who knew us from our journey before gathered and welcomed us, most of whom insisted us to stay a night at the village before heading out to the wild.
खोइ अब हिँड्न गाह्रो हुन्छ
It had been quite some time that we had been in a gathering as such, people going on about their lives without masks and worries. We too let go of our masks from that point onwards. When we reached to the last house of the village, we were offered with fruits and drinks. In return, we had copies and pencils to give. As the landscape grew to be more fascinating, more difficult our paths became upon every steps we took. We were in such a hurry the last time that we took the same road during the night to gain time. We realize now how much we missed out on the views, the difficult roads, the villages and the fruits. Next day, our trek was through the banks of River Cholani, which originates from Mount Api itself. We took a rest when we were tired and ate when hungry. We listened to the sounds of the nature and let ourselves bask in its glory, things that were of scarce to us before COVID. We could feel the temperature dropping and the air getting thinner as we pushed forwards. And soon enough, the Himalayas started showing up. As excited as we were, we still had a long way to go to touch the mountains, and the daylight was going away. It was time to set up camp for the night. We slept peacefully under the stars with no worries of the world, and woke up the next day to find ourselves being surrounded by the majestic mountains. Our trek began with the mission to touch the Himalayas and drink the sweet water from its navel. After a few hours of an uphill trek, Mount Api started to become closer and closer until we saw it in its full glory. But our focus was different this time. As much as we wanted to stay and look to the mountain, we pushed ourselves to a much higher altitude to reach a glacial lake east of Mount Api towards Mount Marcus, a place we had never been before. Everywhere we looked, an unparalleled beauty surrounded us, but the Himalayas were with less or no snow even if it was winter. Our fellow travelers from the village were worried as it had never happened before. That somehow reminded us how the entire world is facing a crisis right now and trying to get over it together. Maybe if they all ride on a same boat when it comes to climate crisis, our future sons and daughters would be able to experience the mountains just like we have.
Bubble, bubble, bubble. Oh my god.
After a treacherous climb of more than 2 hours, we reached Kalidhunga Taal with Mount Marcus in its background. And to be honest, our brain had some trouble processing what our eyes were seeing. So much beauty in one single place. We washed our tiredness with the water from the lake and started to stare at the nature's finest creation. For a brief moment we could feel the air, hear the waves crashing, and see the glacier falling with our friends around us. The project with One Youth had taken us to a lot of places, but never have we ever been that much at peace. The 5 years of One Youth and One Tech had taught us to make the most out of our time. But the 3 months of lockdown had certainly taught us to make the most out of our life. The clouds started to rise from the mountains, giving us a sign to head home. But we had one more destination to reach, the source of River Cholani originating from Mount Api. So we started to walk towards it. When we were in the last village, we heard that the city might go into another lockdown soon and we might not be able to go back. We started to think about our project, our IT office, and how we will be able to continue or sustain in the future with crisis as such. But there was nothing we could have done from an altitude that high except to enjoy our long trek and the beautiful evening views and hope everything to be alright again. It was a tough destination to reach, but we had each other to help us out reach the river shores. Even though we knew it already, the fact that such a small stream becomes a huge river only a few kilometers down was just fascinating. To be able to sit right below a mountain and drink the purest water from it while looking and touching the highest of the heights certainly makes you wonder about a higher presence.
बन जाउँ त मन लाग्दैन घर जाउँ घर छैन बन जाउँ त मन लाग्दैन घर जाउँ घर छैन कहाँ उडन्छ कहाँ गुडन्छ जीवनको भर छैन कहाँ उडन्छ कहाँ गुडन्छ जीवनको भर छैन कहिल्यै कुवा टम्म हुन्छ कहिल्यै कुवा रितो कहिल्यै कुवा टम्म हुन्छ कहिल्यै कुवा रितो फुलिँदै हजारी फुल म फर्किँदासम्म फुलिँदै हजारी फुल बसै कोयली मेरो चित्त डुलाउन कि जन चौकै जुनेली मेरो मायालाई बुझाउन कि लास्ट हो यो सक्यो
ए ल भयो
After 2 days, we were back to civilization where our computers and stationery were waiting for us. We all lent hands to each other to help set up computers and divide the stationery for children. One by one, the students started to join us. Some of their smiles were hidden inside their masks, but their eyes sparkled with joy, which lifted our spirits. Our mission was finally successful when we met the children and distributed bags, copies, colors, pencils, and chocolates to them. All in all, it was a beautiful day that reminds us to be patient no matter what. As long as we smile, sing, dance, and are compassionate, our spirits will persist, and everything will turn out to be alright.
हेलो
हजुर नमस्ते भरतजी।
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार। सन्चै हुनुहुन्छ?
एकदमै। अनि हजुरलाई के छ खबर?
यहाँ सन्चै छ, सबै ठिकै छन्।
ए त्यही 3 हप्ता जति भयो हामी आएको, अनि त्यही भएर के छ गाउँको अवस्था, स्वास्थ्य सबै ठिकै छ कि छैन भनेर बुझ्नलाई कल गरेको नि।
हजुर ठिकै छ, अहिले त सबै सन्चै छन्। विद्यालय पनि चलिरहेकै छ, कम्प्युटर पनि विद्यार्थीहरूले सिकिरहेका छन्। अवस्था एकदम राम्रो छ सर।
ए त्यही धेरै धेरै खुसी लागेको।